Some wishes are harmless. Some are innocent. And some change everything. What happens when a young man makes a bold confession he was never meant to say out loud? What happens when curiosity meets opportunity, and when desire crosses lines no one prepared for? In this mature, emotionally layered story, an anonymous narrator reveals the unexpected wish his nephew made, and the chain of events that followed. This is not a tale of scandal for shock value. It's a deep exploration of marriage, temptation, power, secrecy, and the complicated hunger that hides behind polite family smiles. If you enjoy stories that challenge comfort zones, expose raw human emotions, and explore the gray areas of relationships, then prepare yourself. This one doesn't hold back. I have never told anyone this story with my real name attached to it. I prefer it that way. Some truths live better in shadows. Some confessions only breathe when the face behind them is blurred. It started on a humid December evening in Lagos. The kind of evening when the ceiling fan pushes around thick air but offers no relief. My sister had traveled out of town for work, and her husband was on a 2-week offshore contract. That left their son, my nephew, staying with me. He was 19. Old enough to shave, old enough to drink if he lied about his age, and definitely old enough to look at women differently. I had always known he admired my wife. Anyone with eyes would. She carried herself with a quiet confidence that made men pause mid-sentence. Her laughter was soft but knowing, like she understood secrets no one else did. Even at family gatherings, I would catch my nephew staring too long. I brushed it off as harmless curiosity. Until that night. We were sitting on the balcony. The power had gone out, as usual, and the only light came from distant generators and the faint glow of the moon. We were talking about women. About relationships. He had just been dumped by a girl from his university. "Uncle," he said, voice unsteady, "what's it like to be with a woman who knows exactly what she's doing?" I laughed. Experience teaches that. He was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at me, not like a boy looks at a man, but like a man challenging another man. "I have a wish," he said. I told him to spit it out. He hesitated. I saw his throat move as he swallowed. "I wish, just once, I could be with someone like her." He didn't say her name. He didn't need to. The silence that followed felt electric. I should have been angry. I should have corrected him. I should have reminded him of boundaries. Instead, I asked the question that changed everything. Why? His honesty startled me. Because she's confident. She doesn't pretend. She doesn't act shy like girls my age. When she talks, it feels like she sees you. I want to know what that feels like. There was no vulgarity in his tone. No crude hunger. Just raw curiosity. A young man wanting to step into adulthood in the most dangerous way possible. I went to bed that night unsettled. But not because of him. Because of her. She had been restless for months. Distant. Not cold, but different. There was a new boldness in her eyes. A playful wickedness when she looked at men who weren't me. I had noticed. I just hadn't confronted it. When I told her what he said, half joking, half testing her reaction, she didn't explode the way I expected. She didn't look shocked. She smiled. It wasn't a loud smile. It was slow. Calculated. "That's bold," she said. "Yes," I replied carefully. "And what did you tell him?" "I didn't tell him anything." She held my gaze longer than necessary. "You'd be surprised," she whispered, "what young men are capable of handling." That was the first moment I realized something had shifted in my marriage. I didn't know then how far it would go. But I knew the wish had not died on that balcony. It had only been planted. And some seeds grow in the dark. The next few days were normal on the surface. Breakfast conversations. television noise. The usual domestic rhythm. But under it all, there was tension, thin, invisible, humming like a live wire beneath the floor. She started dressing differently when she knew he was around. Not inappropriate. Just intentional. Shorter house gowns. Softer fabrics. Perfume in the middle of the afternoon. I noticed. And he noticed too. The way his eyes followed her. The way he tried not to stare when she bent to pick something up. The way he cleared his throat when she stood too close. One afternoon, I came home earlier than expected. I didn't announce myself. I wanted to see. They were in the living room. She was sitting beside him on the couch, closer than necessary. Their knees touched. She was explaining something about business investments, her hand resting lightly on his arm. He looked nervous. She looked in control. When she saw me, she didn't jump away. She simply smiled. "You're back early," she said. I nodded. My nephew stood up too quickly. "Uncle, I was just—" "I can see what you were just doing," I said calmly. He went pale. She, however, didn't flinch. Later that night, when we were alone in our bedroom, I confronted her. "What are you doing?" I asked. She didn't pretend not to understand. "Exploring," she said simply. "With my nephew?" "With a young man who asked for an experience." My chest tightened. "He's a boy." "He's not," she replied softly. "And you know it." There was something in her tone, something fearless. Something that told me this wasn't about him. It was about her. She felt unseen in our marriage. Unchallenged. Unwanted in a way she refused to admit out loud. "You're bored," I said. She laughed quietly. "Maybe I am." The next evening, she knocked on the guest room door where he slept. I watched from the hallway. She didn't go inside at first. She leaned against the frame and talked. Casual conversation. Laughter. Teasing. Then she stepped in. And closed the door. I stood there longer than I should have. I didn't knock. I didn't interrupt. I walked back to my room. The house was silent for nearly an hour. When she returned, her hair was slightly messy. Her lips swollen. She didn't look guilty. She looked alive. And that was when I understood. This wasn't about being caught. It wasn't about shame. It was about a woman who wanted to feel powerful again. And a young man whose wish had just begun to come true. You might expect rage. You might expect violence. But what I felt was something far more complicated. Control. She came to me that night and didn't hide anything. "He's inexperienced," she said. "Curious. Eager to learn." "And you volunteered to be his teacher?" I asked. Her eyes held mine steadily. I volunteered to feel wanted. There it was. The truth stripped bare. Our marriage had become safe. Predictable. Routine. We had stopped discovering each other. And she, being who she was, refused to fade quietly into domestic invisibility. "What exactly is this?" I asked. She sat beside me. "It's temporary." He explores. I explore. No drama. No emotions. No exposure. "And if he falls for you?" She smiled faintly. "He won't. I won't let him." That was the arrangement. Unspoken, but understood. For the next week, our home transformed into something surreal. She moved with a glow I hadn't seen in years. He walked taller. More confident. Less boy, more man. I would hear laughter from down the hall. Whispers. Doors locking. It should have destroyed me. Instead, it awakened something inside me too. Watching her rediscover herself, through someone else, made me realize how much I had taken her for granted. One evening, she came to me first. Before going to him, she kissed me with urgency, with hunger, with a fire that had been dormant. It was as if his curiosity fueled her passion for me as well. Strange how desire works. It doesn't divide. It multiplies. And I allowed it. Not because I was weak, but because I understood something most men refuse to admit. Sometimes, control isn't about possession. It's about permission. My nephew changed. There was a new steadiness in his voice. A confidence in how he carried himself. He no longer looked at women timidly. He understood them, at least enough to navigate conversations with calm assurance. One night, I found him alone on the balcony. "You got your wish," I said. He nodded slowly. "She's incredible," he whispered. I studied him carefully. "Don't mistake experience for love." He shook his head. "I won't." But I wasn't fully convinced. The truth was, she had been careful. She never promised him more than what it was. She never spoke of the future. She kept it grounded in the present. And then, just as quietly as it began, she ended it. My sister was returning soon. Her husband too. The house would no longer be a playground of secrecy. She knocked on his door one final time. But this time it was different. No laughter. No teasing. Just closure. When he came out later, his eyes were red, but not broken. He had learned. About women. About desire. About boundaries. And perhaps most importantly, about silence. Years have passed. He is married now. Confident. Stable. Successful. And he has never spoken of that summer. Neither has she. Her husband never found out. My sister never suspected a thing. She remains anonymous, not because she fears being caught, but because some adventures are not meant for public judgment. They are meant to be remembered privately. As for me, I learned something too. Marriage is not ownership. Desire is not linear. And sometimes, the most unexpected wishes reveal the cracks in relationships we pretend are solid. Do I regret it? Regret is a heavy word. What happened did not destroy us. In a strange way, it rebuilt us. She found her spark again. I found my awareness again. And my nephew? He stepped into manhood through a door he never expected would open. Some stories are meant to scandalize. This one is meant to expose the complexity of human hunger. And that is why I remain anonymous. Not out of fear, but out of understanding. Desire is rarely simple. Relationships are rarely perfect. And sometimes, the truths we hide say more about us than the ones we confess. If this story made you think, question, or even feel uncomfortable, that means it did its job. Real human emotions are messy, layered, and unpredictable, and that's what we explore here. Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you have handled things differently? Was it curiosity, control, or something deeper at play? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more bold, mature, and thought-provoking stories. The next confession might be even more unexpected. Disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction intended for mature audiences only. It contains themes of adult relationships, desire, and complex emotional situations. All characters and events are fictional, and any resemblance to real people is purely coincidental. Viewer discretion is advised.